And we'd like to thank the Princeton Community Democratic Organization for helping spread the word on this rally. We do have QR codes and information if you want to join our newsletters. Our first speaker is going to be the Reverend Bob Moore. He has been the Executive Director for Coalition for Peace Action for over 44 years. So let's hear it for Bob Moore.
Thank you, sisters and brothers. I come with a heavy heart today. It looked like there was a glimmer of hope, didn't it? That we might be able to resolve this peacefully through diplomacy. Diplomacy, not war. That's our mantra. Diplomacy, not war. With Iran, with all the countries, with all the trouble spots. But unfortunately, this trigger-happy, actually war criminal, who now is our president, decided to go forward with an attack. Shameful. I was hoping against hope, I guess, that we would have a diplomatic path forward. And as I was doing a little grocery shopping earlier this morning, I got a text on my phone, and what did it say? An American attack on Iran has begun, and a girls' school in Iran was hit, and at least 4 dozen girls were killed. That is what a war criminal does. We need to call him what he is. That is what a war criminal does. So, you know, I just want to say a little bit more about diplomacy. We resolved this nuclear issue with Iran through diplomacy in 2015. It was completely peaceful, it was verifiable. And we were involved for 2 years leading up to that in advocating for that diplomatic solution. And we lobbied Congress like crazy. And slowly enough Congress people came on to where it wasn't going to be blocked. And I'm proud to say that Senator Booker was one of those people who came to our side at the last minute. Yes. And by the way, while I'm on, a couple of senators here, Senator Booker and Senator Kim are both co-sponsors of the War Powers Resolution that's going to be voted on in a few days. God bless them. This is what we need. We need people that are going to stand up for peace and are going to stand up for diplomacy and that are going to say no to war criminals, no to war with Iran. This is not the way you solve any problems. It's the way that things get a lot worse. We have a danger of a regional conflagration now. It's not just a war between America and Israel with Iran. All the other countries throughout the Middle East are potentially going to get involved in this and be harmed by this. So this is not going to be some kind of quick in and out. You know, the president is talking about these limited strikes. I don't see anything that's limited about what they're doing. I don't see anything that's limited about killing 48 children this morning. It is shameful. It is shameful. Now, we can't give up hope. We have a democratic system that says only one entity in our government, we have the 3 legs of government, as you know, president, legislative, and Supreme Court. There is a checks and balances that the founders of this country built in. And they had a division of who had the power to do what, right? Who had the power, and the only one to have the power to declare war? Who was it? That is exactly right. And so we are here to stand up for our democracy, and we are going to be demanding that our elected officials pass those war powers resolutions this week. The vote could be as soon as this Monday. So please, check out peacecoalition.org. Go to the top item under Take Action. It tells you how to email. It tells you how to call your Congress people. We need to do that. We need lots of people. We need them to be flooded with people saying no to war with Iran and yes to diplomacy. We need all of you to do that. So please, let's do this as a team. Now that diplomatic achievement in 2015, I want to tell you a little bit more about that. Because in 2018, we had the top diplomat who negotiated that agreement, Wendy Sherman. By then, she was a professor at Harvard University teaching diplomacy. She knew exactly what would work in diplomacy. And it's not easy and it's not fast. She met with the Iranian delegation over and over and had respectful interaction with them until, after 2 years of negotiations, talk about the determined negotiator. She was not going to give up, and she didn't. And eventually we found a solution that worked. And it included not giving everything up to Iran, but it included ensuring that in a verifiable way, Iran would be kept at least 1 year away from having enough nuclear weapons grade material for even one nuclear bomb. That worked. It was verified. It was in place until Trump's first term in 2018 when he withdrew from it, saying he was going to get us something much better. Well, he never does that, does he? No. He keeps saying it. He keeps saying it. He doesn't know what diplomacy is. And I'm sorry, I'd have nothing in particular against the negotiators that he's sending there, but they're not trained diplomats. This is not for rookies. This is not for people with no background. This is not a way to run a government. You know, and this is crazy. So we, the people, need to demand that our members of Congress stand up together and say no to this and pass these war powers resolutions. Now, to help do that, we need you to not only do your responsibility of hopefully both emailing and calling your U.S. Congress people. Again, peacecoalition.org, first thing, undertake action. Everything that you need to know is there. We need you to help us spread the word. Because it's only when we have a synergy and a chain reaction, if I can say that, we need you to be part of our chain reaction for peace. Yes. So please, talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to everyone who can vote, to everybody who can contact our Congress people and say we need you to step up to the plate and to demand, not suggest, to demand that Congress do its responsibility and stop this war with Iran. You know, when I saw that text in the grocery store this morning, I had tears come to my eyes. These are human beings that are dying unnecessarily. Dying with no good reason. There has not been a single good reason that Trump has brought forward. He just feels like doing it. All right? And he's also deceptive. He's not honest. Iran was engaging. By the way, we can easily, there's a lot of things about Iran that I don't like. I'm sure you have the same feelings or similar feelings. But one thing I want to say about Iran is when they say we have the right to enrich uranium for peaceful purposes, they are on completely solid ground. The Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which almost all nations on Earth have signed on to, said that in return for not obtaining nuclear weapons, the non-nuclear countries could enrich uranium for peaceful purposes, and those two purposes are mainly for medical purposes and for generating power, nuclear energy. That is in law. That's international law. So Iran is saying they are obeying international law, and what does Trump say? It's not good enough. He's lawless. Doesn't matter whether it's the U.S. Constitution, whether it's U.S. law, or whether it's international law. He just bucks all of it and ignores all of it and says, I'm going to do whatever I feel like doing. It is so shameful. Evil, that's right. That's a better word. Thank you, my brother. And so that's actually what I felt when I was having tears well up in my eyes. I felt pain. I felt the loss of innocent life. It made me ashamed of my government. Completely ashamed. That's right. Shame on them. Shame on them. This is not the way a civilized government should be behaving. We need, sisters and brothers, all of us together. Again, we need you to be part of the chain reaction here. We can do this, but we can only do it if we all do our best. I'm not asking you to be a miracle worker. I'm asking you to do your share to help make democracy work for peace. Thank you, and God bless you for being here.
I'd like to introduce our next speaker. Dr. Ahmad Farzad is a retired Iranian American physician who has lived in the United States for several decades, and he has some firsthand experience that he'd like to talk about.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for being here. Several days ago, Reverend Moore asked me to say a few words in this Peace Valley. I'm not a politician. I'm just a physician, now retired one, ENT and surgeon. I want to try to review the good relation between the United States and Iran for a couple of centuries. Iran and the United States, they have exceptionally good relationship. I don't want to bore you with the review because that piece that I prepared just became irrelevant today. In 1883, United States first ambassador or representative came to Iran. His name is Benjamin. The second mention would be a young man named Howard Baskerville. He was Princeton Seminary graduate who went for Presbyterian missionary school in Tabriz, Iran. That was the time of constitutional revolution for democracy. He was impressed with their cause and he joined them. Since he already has served military service in the United States Army, he became a leader and developed a military group against the wishes of United States consulate. But he continued. When the anti-revolutionary and the pro-Russian troops surrounded Tabriz, northern Iran, he and his group of 51 tried to break the siege. Unfortunately, he was shot dead at the age 24. On his funeral, several thousand, if not hundred, people participated. He's buried in Tabriz, and he is well regarded and remembered fondly in Iran. The second man that I wanted to mention was named William Schuster. British and Russia, they had a very destructive influence on Iran in 18th century. Contrary to their destructive behavior, U.S. had a very benevolent relationship with Iran. They sent this man, William Schuster. In less than a year, he was able to arrange the tax collection and improve the Iran economy that was in shambles. The British and Russians, they didn't like it. It was against their interest. They forced him out. In World War II, when Iran was called Bridge to the Victory, and British and Russian occupied Iran to basically bring the armament from the Persian Gulf to the Russia, using the railroad that was built by Germans. There was a Tehran conference. They promised that 6 months after the war, they will leave Iran. The British did. The Russians didn't. The United States forced the Russians to leave Iran. So this is a segment of good relationship that Iran and United States have. You remember the tragedy of 9/11. You name one country other than Iranian people, in spite of their regime, who went out in support of Americans and had candle bridge. And that is the document. So let's go back to what did I do with my prepared peace remarks. And that is replaced with what I did for that couple of hours. As you see, I'm not majoring in English. These days, the Iranian people are in a state of shock, sorrow, and mourning for the loss of thousands of their loved ones that were killed in the hand of the government and anarchists. The Iran's freedom has been taken away, their economy is in shambles, and they are in a state of constant panic, pain, and suffering. The 1979 revolution. The 1979 revolution started in Tehran University, that I'm proud graduate of the medical school, prior coming to the United States and serving in the Air Force as a physician. It was a secular movement for freedom, justice, and prevent the corruption. Unfortunately, at the end, the revolution took a wrong direction and turned into a religious dictatorship that was much harsher than the regime of the Shah. What's that? Okay. Attack on United States Embassy was wrong. Taking the American hostages was against the Iranian culture and custom, who always welcome the foreigner and the guest. The slogan of Death to America and others burning the flag was absolutely wrong and counterproductive, and we are ashamed of that. That was done by a very radical in the government. the siege of embassy, killing a lot, many, and executing many officers and previous regime officials. It made Iran in a weak position, along with the purge of military and air force. Saddam saw an opportunity and attacked Iran. The air force, especially, they came back to defend their country, and Saddam was losing, and this time he started using chemical weapons. I was told to hurry up. Ahmadinejad. There was a period in early 2000 that there was an attempt of rapprochement between Iran and the United States, and Madame Albright came and apologized for American involvement in 1963 coup. But unfortunately, this got nowhere. The radicals, they found an excuse, and they brought the fool and the stupid Ahmadinejad. He started a campaign of denying the Holocaust, a well-documented piece of history that never will be forgotten. This deeply hurt the feeling of the Jewish people and weakened the international position. This morning I heard President Trump was saying Iranian uprising. It is amazing. For the past 47 years, the Iranians have done that. Every time the government violently has suppressed their uprisings. How could you forget what happened in the last January? Several thousand innocent children, young men, women, they were killed. They are in a state of shock, they are misery. And how this war is going to help them, I have no way to know. Force, especially the foreign involvement, never bring a satisfactory regime to any country, and especially Iran. Thank you for listening.
Okay, and then we're going to have Jeff Laurenti, he's the board chair for the Coalition for Peace Action, is going to go next. And then we'll have a couple of songs, and we'll move on to the end of the speakers.
Thank you all very much for coming. It is extremely important that on the first day of this latest war, that the American, what the president now calls Department of War, rather than Defense, is waging against foreigners around the world, that we be here to bear witness that from the start, the American people have said no to this misbegotten war. Our president, I'm afraid, has come to see the world through the same lens as Vladimir Putin saw it. In fact, even as Putin has called this a special military operation, President Trump has described it as his invasion of Ukraine. President Trump has described today's attack as major combat operations, which you would think under the U.S. Constitution would mean that the Congress would have to be involved in authorizing it. Think back. Well, first let us quote, before we think back, the great philosopher of public policy in recent American history, Yogi Berra. Deja vu all over again. And we may recall in most of our adult lifetimes another U.S. president who took us into a war in the Middle East. But let us give George W. Bush credit. He did go to the U.S. Congress. He did ask for an authorization from the U.S. Congress. There was an animated debate. And every, I will say, Democratic U.S. senator with presidential ambitions who thought he or she had to vote for this war would pay a price in public accountability for having made that statement, that judgment to go to war. Donald Trump is sparing his people in Congress such a burdensome decision. George W. Bush even went to the UN Security Council to seek approval or at least tacit acquiescence. Donald Trump instead creates his own Board of Peace. And taking his Board of Peace, he is going to take the whole region into war. This is not exactly a grounds for encouragement about the American political experiment surviving. So both the UN Charter, which, let us remember, once it was ratified with the overwhelming approval of the U.S. Senate, became the law of the land, states first that, quote, armed force shall not be used save in the common interest. Not your national interest, the common interest. And second, quote, member states shall refrain from the threat or use of force in their international relations. And what is striking about Donald Trump's behavior leading up to today is that he and the Trump cabal were very explicit that they viewed the threat of force as a legitimate tool to browbeat another country into submission on U.S. terms. So 2 counts for impeachment. Anybody in the House of Representatives looking ahead for next year? 2 of them right there.
Yes,
2 of them right there.
Amen.
And the statement today by the minority leader in the House of Representatives, Hakeem Jeffries, is a pathetic, straddling response. Oh yes, Iran is a, quote, bad actor. And yes, it must be aggressively confronted. This is not the issue. Bad actors or not, we don't start wars against them.
Amen.
And the UN Charter reflected the wisdom, the hard-earned, hard-learned wisdom of the world community after a half-century of not 1 but 2 world wars, that the first priority is to avoid starting wars, because it's a lot easier.
Yes.
It is a lot easier to get into a war than to get out of one. So when Minority Leader Jeffries bleats only a complaint that Trump must explain his rationale and the justification for the strikes, that he needs to define the national security objectives and describe his plan to, quote, avoid another costly, prolonged military quagmire, end quote. That's what he had to have done beforehand. He had to have done it to the U.S. Congress. He needed to have had his agents do it at the UN Security Council, and he didn't. So clearly we need a Congress that is going to have more guts than the current minority leader seems to show. And in that vein, before I wrap up, I want to just acknowledge that we have a couple wannabe congressmen here who are here with us. I see Sam Wong of Princeton, who's here, wave, who is an announced candidate for his party, the Democratic Party's nomination for Congress in the 12th Congressional District, and Adam Hamawi. China. Somewhere here, there, behind this bush. There he is. There Adam is. And do we have any other that I have not yet spied? Wrong word. I have not yet seen in the audience. Well, what's your name?
I'm Unmol.
Who?
Unmol.
In what district?
11.
District 11.
Nelly
Okay,
Post District. Nelly Post District.
that's not even 11. No, that's
9.
Yeah, okay, very good. So you're down from Passaic County. With that, we do have to, as Bob Moore had indicated, we do have to turn to the existing machinery, creaky as it is, our U.S. Congress, Senators Cory Booker and Andy Kim, and I had raised this question of Andy Kim at his town hall in Asbury Park 10 days ago. No, just 8 days ago. And I can tell you that he was quite clear, no war with Iran.
Yes.
So we have to appeal to them. We have to appeal in this district to Bonnie Watson Coleman. We have to appeal those who live in Lawrence, Hamilton, East Windsor, Hightstown, and south and to Burlington, to Herb Conaway. We raised this issue with him at his town hall a week and a half ago. Those of you who live north of Mercer County, Northwest, who are privileged to be represented by Thomas Kane Jr., yes, please make your remonstration and see whether he can detach himself from his party's Mad Hatter leadership and
His last term in Congress.
and save the nation and save himself. So thank you for your attention. Thank you very much for coming out, because this war, particularly if it goes on more than 3 days, is going to, as I believe that it inevitably will, is going to require sustained public pressure, public recognition of the horrors of this war, and of our carrying this message to the larger public that has been worried about the price of eggs. So thank you very much for being here.
And we are very fortunate to have a gifted musician with us, Charlene Leahy, and she's going to present one song right now because we're running a little behind schedule, but hopefully more at the end.
I've got an idea to heal this planet. I've got an idea to heal this planet. I've got an idea to heal this planet. Say no to war. Help me out, come on. Say no to war. Say no to war. What are we gonna tell our children? What are we gonna tell our children? What are we gonna tell our children? Say no to war. Say no to war. Say no to war. Let's protect this earth, it's our only salvation. Let's think of tomorrow, future generations, not just ours, but all of creation. It's time to reveal what is real. It's time to heal. We've got an idea to heal this planet. We've got an idea to heal this planet. We've got an idea to heal this planet. Say no to war. Say no to war. Say no to war. When are we gonna push away sadness? When are we gonna learn to share gladness? When are we gonna end all this madness? When are we gonna be free? You and me. Free from this insanity. What are we gonna tell the people? 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 Everybody, say no to war. Louder. Say no to war. To Washington, say no to war.
Richard Moody is a 27-year former fighter pilot who has become a strong peace activist, primarily with Coalition for Peace Action, and he is a fellow Cranberry resident.
Okay. Hi, everybody. As Bob says, Laura said, my name is Richard Moody, and I'm reading from notes I made about 2 days ago. Little did I think that we would be here today, the day that Mr. Trump invaded Iran. It's just quite appalling and devastating news. And as was said earlier, I'm a veteran Navy fighter pilot. and I spent 27 years total, regular and reserve in the Royal Navy and the US Navy. And about 25 years ago, I saw the light about death and destruction, and I became an ardent Quaker and a peace activist with the Coalition for Peace Action. And I'm very aware of Iran's military abilities, and their armed forces are absolutely no pushover, as I'm going to highlight. War with Iran is extremely foolish. I spent a lot of time in Tehran over the years. I've been there 30 times, and I was very impressed with the Iranian Air Force, extremely impressed with the lovely people and the efficiency of their country. It's a 90 million population country. As I say, it's no pushover. I'm going to throw out some figures because I think everyone needs to know these. Iran has around 350 military aircraft, with approximately 250 being fighter or attack aircraft. Russian-built MiG-29s, Russian Sukhoi 24s, French-built Mirage F-1s, and US-built, they're kind of old, but they're still very efficient aircraft, F-5s, F-14s, and F-4s. I flew the F-4, and I unfortunately had to eject from one into the Pacific when I was on a Top Gun mission many years ago when it caught fire. And that's the reason I now have to sit, because I have a serious spinal issue that 28 specialists have failed to cure. And on top of all the fighter aircraft, there's about another 100 Iranian Air Force, surveillance, tankers, cargo, all that sort of stuff. In addition, Iran has a very large supply of drones, and I think the counterattack they've carried out just recently, the last 24 hours, have been drones. And they have surface-to-air ground missiles. Therefore, Iran is highly capable of a counterattack, having been attacked by the USA, and conflict with Iran could well develop into a massive Middle Eastern war, as Bob said earlier. Yeah. Okay, how's that? Can you hear me now? Yeah. Very close. All right. I'll try to. Okay, how's that? Ah, that's better. Okay, all right. So, Iran is highly capable of a counterattack, having been attacked by the USA, and any conflict with Iran could well develop into a massive Middle Eastern war where thousands will be killed. In addition, the long-term effects of famine, poverty, and lack of infrastructure will be felt in many countries around the world. And Russia is an ally of Iran, could well enter the war against the USA, and it has recently carried out naval exercises with Iran. Plus, China looks like supplying Iran with sophisticated anti-ship supersonic missiles. I imagine the two US Navy aircraft carriers, which are now close by, may well be targets for Iran. In any Iranian response, which is carrying on now. And the UK, my original country, is not allowing US air bases on its soil to be used to attack Iran, nor to use Diego Garcia. There's a big dispute about that in the Chagos archipelago, but there's a base there on Diego Garcia, which is both UK and US, and the UK controls it, and they're not allowing any aircraft from those bases to take off to attack Iran. And then Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates, the UAE, will close their airspaces to US air forces. So it's not going to be a very simple attack by the US military. Perhaps this administration will revert to a covert operation, but that's history now, because I wrote this 2 days ago and I was hoping they might. As public opinion strongly opposes a military action. I think there's about 70% of the population that feel that this should not have happened. And after our president claimed that Iran's nuclear facilities had been utterly and completely obliterated, those were his words, with his attacks on them in June 2025. If this is the case, why is he now attacking Iran? He's given us no real reason for it. Now, it's worth pointing out a lot and reminding people of the history here of our involvement with Iran, and the fact that Iran's last unprovoked attack on another country, unprovoked, hasn't attacked recently as retaliation. Iran's last unprovoked attack on another country was when it invaded India in 1739, when it was Persia. That was the last time it attacked unprovoked. Now, the coup in 1953 to remove the democratically elected Iranian leader Mossadegh and replace him with the despotic Shah was orchestrated by the British MI6 and the US CIA, due to Mossadegh wishing to nationalize the oil industry, which was controlled by the British. This led, of course, to the coup against the Shah and US interests in Iran in 1979, which has already been talked about. In the 1980s, the USA supported Iraq. This is amazing. The USA supported Iraq in its 8-year war with Iran, but then turned around and sold ordnance to Iran in what became known as the Iran-Contra scandal. Didn't make any sense at all. And this is really quite shocking, being a naval officer, retired naval officer to me. In 1988, a US Navy cruiser, the USS Vincennes, shot down an Iranian airliner, Flight 655, in cold blood, killing 290 passengers, including 66 children. Was it a case of mistaken identity, or was it intentional? The captain of the Vincennes was never charged with manslaughter and was subsequently awarded the Legion of Merit. It's hard to believe that. In 2020, Iran's top general, Soleimani, was killed by a US drone attack in Baghdad when he was on a peace mission. And we had a gathering here, that was what, 6 years ago, here at Heinz Plaza about that. And as I said, Iran in 2025, Iran did retaliate with drone attacks on Israel after Israel had attacked Iran's domestic nuclear facilities. And it has yet to be proved that Iran is developing a militaristic nuclear capability, as has been mentioned earlier. So as stated, Iran has confirmed that they are not seeking nuclear weaponry. So let's hope that this administration comes to its senses and realizes that war is the failure of diplomacy, and that sanity and sensibility must be brought back onto the table. As you can see, I'm extremely, and all of us here are very concerned about the future developments in the Middle East, and war is not the answer. As Pete Seeger sang, "Where have all the flowers gone? Long time passing." Thank you very much. Long live peace.
Annalise Riles is a special advisor to the President for Global Sustainability, and she's a professor of law at Northwestern University.
Hey everyone, I'm fine. Yeah, hi. Isn't it good to be together today? Yeah, I just want to say, first of all, a huge thank you to Indivisible and the Coalition for bringing us out. It's important to be together. So I'm here for 3 reasons. I'm here because I'm an international lawyer, a professor of international law. I'm here because I have the honor to be a peace correspondent for the city of Nagasaki, and I bring you their good wishes. And I'm here, thirdly, because I'm a feminist, and I'm going to say a word about each of those. So, first, international law. So, there is absolutely no doubt that what happened in the night yesterday is a violation of international law. You will not find anyone who will tell you differently. This is not a matter of debate. There are many sources, but I'll just cite one. The UN Charter, which is a treaty which, as we heard, has been signed onto by ratified by the US Congress, states clearly that aggression is allowed in only 2 cases. That is violence, war. The first, if you are directly attacked. That is not the case here. We have not been attacked. And the second is pursuant to a decision of the Security Council. which ironically, we all were perhaps protesting the first Iraq war, but that was a case where the Security Council went along with it. We don't have that here. So you will not find any serious international lawyer who will tell you that this is not a violation of international law. And one more thing, we've established at Nuremberg that it's not enough to say I was following orders when you violate international law, right? And so we want to think about all those soldiers who are participating in this, right? All those pilots. They need to think about this. What does it mean to be in violation of international law? And it's not just the military. The other big news you may have seen in the New York Times this morning is that OpenAI is now going to collaborate with our military on the surveillance of the U.S. public and its military operations. So again, it is no excuse under Nuremberg to say I was following orders. So all those folks who work for OpenAI, they might want to think about what they're doing, right? And all of us who have portfolios may want to think about what we're investing in, right? All of this power that the state has is sustained by all of this. That's the first thing I want to say. Second thing is about Nagasaki. So it's been the honor of my life to work with folks in Nagasaki, and what I've learned from them has been hard, frankly, to hear the stories of what war is really like, what that experience really is. I think our generation, we don't really know sometimes, right? Not everyone. Some people know, absolutely. Some people know. Absolutely, some people know. But here's the thing. The folks in Nagasaki have another thing to teach us, because they struggled against their government too. Their government has been collaborating with the U.S. in a lot of this. And so what did they do? They organized on the city level. And they founded an organization called Mayors for Peace, which said, forget these national governments. Let's just go straight city to city. And do you want to know, there are over 5,000 cities, I think, that are members of Mayors for Peace, organized by the city of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And do you know which country has the most members of Mayors for Peace? No. It's Iran. It's Iran. Because the people of Iran do not want war.
That's right.
But guess what? The difference between the people in Iran and us is that we have a voice. We can get out there and tell our national authorities. They don't, right? And so in a way, it's our responsibility even more to stop this.
Yes.
And the last thing I'll say is about being a feminist. I want to mention the 2023 Nobel Peace Prize winner, Narges Mohammadi. This is a woman of tremendous courage who has been raped, tortured, abused in every way simply because she wants rights for women in Iran. And women in Iran have been speaking up, and they have suffered brutally. So we don't want to forget that. But at the same time, as a feminist, I have to say that every time the U.S. engages in military action, it does it in the name of women. We're saving the women of Afghanistan. We're saving the women of Iraq. And this president doesn't give a damn about women. He doesn't give a damn about us. He takes away our bodily autonomy, our right to make decisions about our own life, and he tells us he's saving women somewhere else, especially when, as we heard, he's bombing a girls' school. So women, when we hear the drum beats start that this is for women, we speak up and we say, hell no, not in our name.
Yes. Hell no.
And the last thing I want to say as a feminist, I had the privilege a few months ago of hearing the president of Iceland at the UN speak. And she talked about a time when the women of Iceland stood up. They'd had enough. And they decided that they were all going to go on strike for one day, just one day. And for one day, no woman drove a bus, no woman taught school, You know, and the president said, she said, I remember being 8 years old and saying, Mommy, why aren't you cooking dinner today? And her mommy said, because I want to be seen. And so I asked, and she, at the UN, she said, you know what we need now? We need a women's strike for peace.
Yes.
One day and this nightmare would stop. So I say, if you're interested in organizing women, let's do it, because the fact of that is we're often the leaders of this, right? We're the ones who can stop it. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. We've heard from some really great, educated, thoughtful speakers today about the disastrous decision that was made last night. And why is Trump determined for people to die in a war opposed by his own supporters as well as the majority of the American public? Does Iran threaten the United States today any more than it did a month ago, a year ago, or 10 years ago? No. Did diplomacy fail? No. Although it was challenging, but Oman's foreign minister stated about the ongoing negotiations on Friday. Now we're talking about zero stockpiling, and that is very, very important, because if you cannot stockpile material that is enriched, then there's no way you can actually create a bomb. Is the U.S. under imminent threat? No. Iran has no long-range nuclear weapons and is not capable of making them in the near future. As the president pointed out in June, their nuclear capabilities were completely and totally obliterated by U.S. strikes at that time. The Pentagon agreed that Iran's nuclear program was likely set back by 2 years. Is regime change in Iran going to make us safer? No. There's no clear unified opposition ready to take over if the current regime is overthrown. With no presumptive leader, deposing the Ayatollah could lead to a power vacuum, a civil war, regional conflict, and economic disruption. See Iraq and Afghanistan. So why is the president declaring an unconstitutional and illegal war without going before Congress or the American people to gain their support?
Diversion.
Everybody's got an opinion. The answer is the same for every decision he makes. The answer is it's in his own self-interest. As the Epstein case sees political, financial, educational, and entertainment leaders losing their careers, their reputations, and even their freedom throughout the world, Trump needs us to focus our attention elsewhere. As he attempts to take over all the levers of our elections, he's looking to distract us. As his regime's corruption rivals that of Putin's, he wants us to be blinded by a tragedy we cannot see beyond. So he's done the unthinkable. He's placed hundreds of thousands of people in mortal peril in order to preserve his own skin. And he's joined in this by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who's looking to protect his own future that's currently threatened by his prosecution in Israel. They should all go to jail. As we oppose this war in every way we can, by being here, by voicing our opposition to our elected leaders, by electing leaders who share our outrage, and by speaking out, we will show him that this immoral war will not deter us from holding him accountable for all his crimes, including last night's bombing and any ongoing unconstitutional, illegal acts of aggression in Iran. Indeed, his declaration of war strengthens our resolve to fight back against the murderous impulses of this regime. So I'm going to echo everyone that said, do everything you can, contact your legislators, look at our candidates or your candidates in your district, our candidates in this district, and see who's on our side with being a peace activist. Contact your own candidates, talk to your friends, tell people you've learned today about how unconstitutional, how illegal this is. Make sure your friends know what's going on, and look at the MAGA people, and when they agree with you, let's embrace them. Let's tell them that we agree. This is not the right thing for America. This is not a moral thing for us to be doing, and our president should be listening to the public. Thank you.
As our musician comes to the comes forward again to close us with some music, I just want you to know our crowd count today for all of you wonderful people who are here, 180 people are here. Thank you and God bless you. Charlene Leahy.
We're gonna lay down our swords and shields down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. We're gonna lay down our swords and shields down by the riverside. We're gonna study war no more. We ain't 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 gonna study war no more. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, we're gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. We say no to war. We're gonna let it shine. Everybody, come on. We say no to war. We're gonna let it shine. We say no to war. We're gonna let it shine. 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 Let it shine.
That concludes our rally today, and again, we thank each and every one of you for being with us today. And remember, chain reaction. We need to keep spreading this word so that we can have the impact we need to have. Thanks for coming, and God bless you.